Hello and welcome. I'm Rachel Bleemer, Director of Programming and Events for Film Independent. Before we dive into today's Q&A, I'd like to extend our gratitude to our partners, the Caton Goldrick Family Foundation and Claims Conference. Today, we are exploring two remarkable films as part of our ongoing Always Remember program. This program aims to raise Holocaust awareness through the medium of film. This month's theme, A Child's Perspective, is represented accurately by these two films. Joining me are two exceptional filmmakers. Please help me welcome Academy Award winner and director of When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit, Caroline Link, followed by director and producer of 263 Nights, Vladimir Bokun. Vladimir will be joining via audio only. Let's get started. Can you tell us what drew you to this project?
A couple words about myself and about my studio. This
Wonderful.
is a studio of historical films in Minsk, in Belarus. We are shooting and producing documentary and fiction films about history and about unknown pages of the history. And one of the largest pages of our history is story and is Holocaust on Belarusian land. In Belarus, there were a lot of ghetto in time of the war, and the largest ghetto was in Minsk, and about 80,000 Jews were killed in this ghetto. And this story happened in Minsk ghetto. And when we produced the very first documentary film about the story, it was about 13 years ago. It was filmed The Chronicle of Minsk Ghetto. And we found this story with help one of person who was a prisoner of this ghetto who survived after the war, Leonid Rubinstein. He told me this story, and he showed us this house in this basement where 26 people, after the last pogrom in ghetto, survived. And they had to stay in this basement 263 nights. It is the beginning of the story. And then we took decision to create a separate film about this story. And we found such form of this film like animation form. It is animation film. And we invite talented animation films director, Irina Tarasova, is very talented film director, and she created this story in animation version.
Were you able to meet and interview the survivors? Can you tell us about that?
I told you already about Leonid Rubinstein. It was an amazing person who survived in ghetto and after ghetto in concentration camps. If you would like to see him, you can find in internet our film, The Chronicle of Minsk Ghetto, and you can see that it is really very unusually strong person. And he told us the story, and I had a lot of talks with him about it. And then we found another person lives now in Israel, and he was teenager in time of the war, and he was one of survivors in this basement. And I am in touch with him, and often we have just phone talks, just not about the war, just about life, because he remembers, and we have a lot of talks about it. And he described us in many moments of this story, an unusual story. He was a very young boy at that time.
The story had a lot to do with family and survival. What do you hope audiences will take away from these themes, especially in today's world?
I think we must remember about this story about Holocaust, and we must tell people the truth about this terrible moment of our history. But unfortunately, the memory of people, historical memory of people, as I understand, is rather short. And if you look around and you look at this war around us, I think you agree with me that unfortunately this message was, but in any way, I think we must continue because continue uh, to make films about Holocaust and about war and to search some positive exit in this situation, but it is very hard. You know, I don't I don't see that our message was effective and people are really ready to change something. Unfortunately, our world didn't change, don't change, and I hope maybe some miracle will happen and something will change, but not now.
Can you tell us a little bit about the animator, how you found them? The animation is so special and beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Irina Tarasova is one of the more talented animation film directors, and this her style you could see because it is very important to find correct style to tell this story by in animation. You must find very uh, exact, exact pictures, exact color, exact characters, and she really it is first of all it is her. Unfortunately, she cannot take part in our talks now, but I appreciate very high her work and her talent. I hope we continue our communication in future and maybe we will create something else.
Yes, I hope so. Maybe you can tell us anything that you're working on now or future projects?
I think it is very important to tell people about Holocaust and about tragedy. And we were the very first studio in Belarus which started to make films about ghetto, and we produced already certain films, documentary and fiction films about Minsk ghetto, about ghetto in small towns, about miracles, events, and escapes from this ghetto, about people who could survive and who died, about this. And we continue this way because we have last year we shot documentary film 200 Steps Underground. It is a miracle story about escape from ghetto in small town, and people Jewish in this ghetto dig a long tunnel underground, about 200 meters for escape. And they did it and they escaped, and it was successful escape. Of course, part of them died after it, were killed, but about half of this group survived and attached and continue work in partisan camps. We had, as you know, Jewish partisan camp, and people survived and attached to this camp. So, and now we continue work. This moment we are searching for information about one very unusual place. It is concentration camp near Brest, near border with Poland. And this is a terrible place where thousands of people were killed, and we are searching now for information about this story.
Wow. Well, we wish you the best of luck with that project. It sounds vital. Please keep us posted so we can share it with Film Independent Presents members. And I want to just thank you so much for not only your time today, but your dedication to storytelling in such an impactful way. I wish I had your film as a child, but I'm so grateful to had enjoyed it now as an adult. And please, thank you so much again, and keep us posted with everything that you're doing.
Thank you very much for your project, for invitation.
Carolyn, thank you so much for being here today. What were the key challenges in adapting such a beloved book for the screen?
Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, when I read a book, a novel, or some material I get from producers, I always think, what are the key images? What are the key scenes that show me the emotional state of mind the characters are in? And I remember that book for a very long time because I had to read, like all the children in Germany, it was, how do you say, obligatory or compulsory? Well,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had to, yeah, we had to read the book when we were about I think 10 or 11 years old. So we read it in school, and I was so afraid of the book because, of course, growing up in Germany in the 70s, you hear a lot, or sometimes people don't talk or talk. You hear a lot about the Second World War, about the very, very dark chapter in our history. And then you have this book, and the teacher tells you as a little girl, you read this book now, and it's about a childhood of a little girl who has to flee the Nazis. She's Jewish and all that. And then you're afraid that the book may hurt you and that it hurts your feelings and that you're shocked. And then I read it, and I was so grateful to Judith Kerr that she didn't shock me as a child, you know? It goes very deep, and that's the big quality of the book, I think. It goes very deep. It shows there in vague how do you say in vague little views through the keyhole that there is something very bad and dark going on in Germany at the same time, but it never over how do you say over kills the children
Correct.
who read the book.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I always, as a filmmaker, I tried to think, okay, what is possible to show? What is possible? How do I show the emotions? How do I capture the the depth of the book without playing the conflict down, without playing the Holocaust and the escape of the Jewish people into all over the world? How can I capture that without playing it down, taking it serious, but still making a movie for children? So that was a big challenge.
Well, you certainly did that beautifully. I wanted to talk about the cinematography and the visual design. You really were able to tell the family's story through the cities too, and their characters. I loved it so much. I watched it again last night, so it's very fresh. What were some of the obstacles that you faced when you're on like a multi-city production?
Well, that is, of course, always a challenge. I mean,
Yeah.
you have in Germany, especially, you have only a limited amount of money. You cannot travel and shoot great scenes. And when you make a historical, or how do you say, a period movie,
Mhm.
every shot that's in the picture at the end of the day has to be designed in a way, because every pencil, every bicycle, every wall, every fence is today out of
Right.
is a wrong time, you know?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to create everything. You have to
Yeah.
bring in all the props and everything. So it costs a lot of money, the costumes, everything. So
Mhm.
of course that is a challenge, that you cannot have too many different locations. You have to decorate every little thing. And when you like the camera to pan a little bit more to the right, you realize, oops, the decoration ends there. I cannot pan to the right because there is everything 2019 and not
Yeah.
1933. So that is, of course, difficult. You have to really plan carefully what is necessary. And for example, how do we create Paris? We shot Paris in
Yeah.
Prague because
Ah.
shooting in Prague is a little bit less expensive than in Paris.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
still, Prague is a modern town today, so we had to
Yes.
decorate everything there and all this. And then, of course, the biggest challenge for me, knowing in the meantime, as a quite experienced filmmaker, I know all that is not important compared to the actor is good enough? Is my directing good enough? You know,
Yes.
is the
Yes.
intensity of the scenes strong enough? And
Right.
so the work with the actors and the actresses, that is everything to me. I
Yes.
mean, the decoration and the set design is one thing, but of course, how do you create a true moment with your actors? That's the
Yeah.
main question.
Well, that jumps right into my next question. Can you talk about the casting process, especially around Anna, because she, for a child actor, I mean, just outstanding, and care is able to carry the film, which you don't see in a lot of children's movies, at least here in the States too. This movie, I wish I had as a child, to be honest, because when we were taught about the Holocaust, it was very intense, but like right thrown at you, where like this is a good way to tell a child at the beginning what it was like, and then you get into some of the more
It's an
graphic
yeah,
scenes,
it's
like
an optimistic movie.
an
I think Judith
yeah, yeah,
Kerr, yeah, Judith Kerr always wanted to tell in her book as well an optimistic story that there
right,
is never no hope, that there is always hope,
right,
and that
right,
life is difficult, and that you as a person can make a difference. You know, that was so moving to me all the time when I realized, you know, this family, you know, they moved from one place to the other, and they were always dependent on people who were nice to them, welcoming and saying, it's okay, now you're safe, you can stay here for a while, stay here, we're not against you, you know, we support
yeah,
you, we help you. And that is, I think, the message that I would like to tell the children who watch the film, as much as I learned that from the book from Judith Kerr, that you as a person can make a difference to refugees, that you, and I think in this special case, it is very easy to relate with Anna, because Anna is a girl like from our neighborhood, you know. It's easy to relate with her. She is just another girl, you know. She's not from a remote place where we don't know the circumstances. She's a girl from next door, and from one day to the other, she hears that she has to leave with her family, with her father, with her mother, with her brother, from one day to the other, leave everything behind and leave into another country that where she doesn't know the language and doesn't know what she is supposed to do there. So from one day to the other, this shock, what did I do? Why do I have to go? I don't speak that language, you know. And I think Riva Krimalovsky, my little actress, she was 9 when we were shooting. And from the first day, she had a very deep emotional understanding for the situation, because Riva is Jewish, her family is Jewish. And of course, even though the parents did not talk a lot yet with with their children about the Holocaust in all its brutality, but still she knows there was a lot of pain, a lot of very, very horrible stories. And so Riva understood what she was dealing with. And even though only the grown-ups in the other room talk about the Holocaust in Germany, Riva knew what to play. Like, for example, in that one scene when this friend comes from Germany and brings the clock, the clock to the family in Paris, because Julius had died.
yes,
Um, Riva took the clock and she blew it, and I told her, blow it like you always did with your uncle.
yeah,
And then she started crying, and I didn't tell her
uh,
to start crying, but it meant so much to her, this
yeah,
little actress. It
yeah,
was amazing. You have to imagine she's 9 years
yes,
old. There's a camera, there's a whole crew standing around her, filming her in the face, and she could completely focus on what the deeper content of this scene is,
yeah.
focus on that watch, focus of the memory of a loved person who had been killed. And so her emotions came up and she started crying. I was very impressed because she's not an actress, she's a child, and she just did a beautiful job.
Just yeah, brilliant, brilliant performance from everyone, but especially a 9-year-old girl. It's just it was amazing. Um,
Yeah.
for sharing
I
that.
felt very lucky that we found her. The moment she walked in the casting studio, I knew, oh,
Oh,
please God, let her be
yes,
talented,
yeah,
because the way she enters the room, the way she has that perfect mixture of depth and humor, she can be so funny. And
oh,
she's very talkative. She talked and talked and talked when
oh,
she came in. And I thought, she's perfect. Let her
yeah.
be talented. Let me see how she plays. And I gave her a little scene and she improvised. And I thought,
Oh,
yes,
wow,
that's
improvise.
my girl.
Yeah, I hope she continues to act. I really do, because she has a gift for it.
Yeah. I mean, not every child actor or actress has to become an actor, but yeah, she's very talented.
Talented, yes. I know that this story deals, like we were saying, about family and survival and being optimistic. What do you hope audiences take away from these themes, especially in today's world?
I mean, it's always very important and helpful for children and for everybody to sometimes change perspectives. You know what you want, you know what you feel, you know what your everyday life is supposed to look like. You don't want to lose your wealth, your comfort, everything that makes life nice and wonderful. But I always tell my daughter and all the young people I show the movie to, for a minute, get yourself, stand in the shoes of somebody else. How does the day feel for that person today? What is their reality today? I mean, it's called empathy. And
Mhm.
cinema is a tool, I think, and a perfect mean to teach empathy, because in cinema we can really get under the skin and into the person in somebody else's life, and we travel with movies,
Mhm.
we experience journeys and situations and everyday lives that we would never get to know in real life. So I think with this movie, children can feel with Anna and her brother how it must have felt to be forced to go away from everything you love. And this is why Judith Kerr calls her book "When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit." It's not that one toy; it's her childhood. He stole her childhood, her favorite toy, and she had to leave it behind. And so I think the movie can teach an audience to switch perspective, to feel empathy, and to open up a little bit to the reality of people who lost their homes, and who look for some people who reach out to them and say, let me help you. You're safe here, you're welcome here. Let me take care of that. So I hope that movie and the book from Judith Kerr already did, but I
Yes,
think it's a possibility to learn a little bit about that.
it's a beautiful answer. Thank you. You've chosen in your career to uh, tell the story of the Holocaust in different ways. Can you tell the audience why you've felt compelled to dive into this theme more than once?
Well, both of the stories, Nowhere in Africa and When
Mhm.
Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit, were novels that were given to me by a producer, and
Mhm.
we have very very many movies in Germany about the Second World War, about Holocaust, and it's
Mhm.
always very important to me that any other movie that is added on top of the many movies that exist already, but it has a new perspective and has a new, or ask a new question, or add something that is not told this way before. When I did Nowhere in Africa, I thought it is wonderful to talk about the Holocaust and this horrible dark time in Germany through a family who is leaving Germany right at the beginning of the movie and ends up in Kenya, where they really didn't want to be at that time, and lives in poverty far away and gets to know Kenya through that force, through that negative start, and still they, but like Stefanie Zweig at that time told me, it left a print on her soul, being growing up in Kenya. So I love that story of immigrants who ended up in the weirdest places, where they really didn't want to be. Not every refugee went to London or Paris,
Right,
some
right.
some went to China, or
Yeah.
I don't know, and they didn't speak the language. There were no cell phones, there was no internet. I mean,
Right.
that was a real challenge.
Mhm.
And so I love that book from Stefanie Zweig, Nowhere in Africa, and also When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. It is a personal story because I always loved the book so much. And
Yes.
when that came to me by the producers, I thought, okay, maybe it's a little bit like Nowhere in Africa. It's again refugees going somewhere else, where at
Mhm.
the beginning of the story. But then I thought the optimistic tone of that book is so amazing. That is really unique, I think. It's almost, sometimes I felt if Judith Kerr, who was really that Anna, if she didn't say that, at some point she even says in the book, even though it was horrible what happened in Germany, for me and my brother, it was the most beautiful time of my life because I never felt as close as a family ever again. I was so close with my father, with my mother, and in those years we were really strong together, and that was so important to her and so strengthening for her, that no matter what, we stay together. As long as we stay together, nothing can happen to us. And that's what she says on the Eiffel Tower, when she says, no, we're not going anywhere anymore. I want to stay with you.
Yeah.
And I think that was this optimistic, even, sometimes funny episodes without playing the horror down, was the uniqueness of Pink Rabbit, I think.
Absolutely.
It's a very unique tone, I think.
Yeah, it really is so special. And I'm so happy we were able to program it for this month's A Child's Perspective theme, because it's the perfect film for that. And thank you for allowing us to show it. Thank you for creating a film around such an important book. I want to end, I always like to end with your future projects. Is there anything that we should be looking out that you're working on next?
Yeah, I'm writing a screenplay right now, and now we're almost done with the writing, and we start casting, and it's a love story. It's for a long time not a story with children. I worked a lot with children.
Yes.
I did after Pink Rabbit, I did a TV series about a child psychologist working with 4 different children with different problems and challenges. And I worked so much with children that I said, okay, now I have to make a break and tell an adult story. So it's an adult grown-up love story between a climate activist and a young lawyer. And they are very different in their point of views, but they love each other very strongly. And it's an up and down, goes over many years, and it's growing up into life and what is important and what is not negotiable.
Oh, I'm very excited. Thank you. Thank you so much for not only your time today, but your dedication to storytelling in such an impactful way. I was saying to Vladimir earlier that I wish I had this film as a child, and but I've been able to enjoy your films as an adult too, and it means so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and please keep in touch with us here at Film Independent. Thank you, and take care. And
you take care too with all those earthquakes going on behind you.
I know. What a Q&A.